Hello, everybody. John Rappaport here, sitting in for Alex in the fourth hour on InfoWars. Let's talk about globalism, that wonderful word that sounds so great to idiots. Globalism. I like the way that, it's so inclusive, it's so broad, it's so wide, it takes in the entire world, the ism of the globe. Let's do something for the entire world all at once. Let's all meet in the middle of wherever that would be. What's the midpoint of the planet? Let's get 7 billion people to all be there and say, we love everybody and everything's going to be great. That's how some people look at this. I mean, they actually do. They're that deluded that they think that this incredible operation, globalism, which has been going on for a very long time, is really about share and care and utopia for everybody. What else could it be? Well, what else it could be is what it is. Top-down control of the planet, the erasing of borders so that there are no more separate nations. Instead, you have regions, which is what the European Union has been trying to do over the decades to make Europe into one gigantic country, as it were. Let's welcome in millions of immigrants and stir and mix and so on. Unrecognizable countries, traditions, and customs all destroyed. One gigantic pot, and we'll call that Europe. And then we of the European Union that only care about you will run everything completely because there'll be no more national governments. We don't need that. Why do we need a national government in, say, Australia or the United States or Canada or anywhere? That's the old world. See, this is the globalist theme, and they pursue this in every way possible. And what they want is total technocratic control over every human being from the top, cradle to grave, generation after generation. And that would have been the complete overt agenda of Hillary Clinton had she won the election. I mean, it would have been just clear the decks, everybody. Here we go. This is it. With Trump, there's a lot of pluses and minuses going on here. There's a major struggle at many different levels within the swamp to see who is going to win. But today, what I want to do is to show you stories that have slipped under the radar here, that are really stories about globalism, that nobody in major media, and Mark Dice covered this in the last segment, great, the history of Mockingbird, the CIA program to infiltrate and control the media. The media are not connecting any dots, believe me, not any dots that would implicate globalism. They don't even like to mention the word. Here's a story. In 2016, doctors in the United States wrote how many prescriptions for medical drugs? Take a guess. 50 million, 100 million, 300 million. How many prescriptions did U.S. doctors write in 2016? So the latest figure is 4,065,479,343. 4,065,000,000. So that would be a little bit more than one medical drug prescription per month for every man, woman, and child in the United States. Wow. Wow. That tells you something about the power of Big Pharma. But now let's make the connection, because David Rockefeller and the Rockefeller family were there at the birth of modern pharmaceutical medicine, and in fact gave birth to modern pharmaceutical medicine, getting rid of as many competitors as they possibly could, and expanding that cartel to its enormous proportions today. Why? Oh, it's the money. It's always the money. It's just the money. No, it isn't just the money. They have enough money. They've had enough money for a long time. They're not going to go short on coffee or on desserts or on gasoline or on mansions. No. Sure, it's always about the money, but it's about control. It's about control by the use of toxic medical drugs because one for one, every medical drug has some degree of toxicity associated with it. That's the basis of pharmaceutical modern medicine. Kill the germ. Well, to kill the germ, you've got to have something that's a poison. And so it turns out, as a matter of fact, that we're not just talking about a little bit of poison, we're talking about a whole lot of poison inherent in these drugs. That's the goal. That's the operation. That's the globalist scheme to keep populations completely debilitated, confused, sick, ill, disoriented, unable to think, to act, to do anything. That's the deal. That's what they're doing all over the world. Vaccines, you bet. Medical drugs, you bet. It's all part of the same picture. And in no possible sane universe would doctors in the country of the United States be writing 4,065,000,000 scripts for drugs in 1 year. That is beyond any rational purpose. It has absolutely no purpose whatsoever in anything like that quantity. This is a chemical warfare operation, plain and simple. And I've been saying it for a long time and writing about it for a long time and documenting it for a long time. Major media refuse to touch it with a 10-foot pole, not just because their advertisers are overwhelmingly pharmaceutical. That's the money end. But there are plenty of advertisers out there who would jump on the bandwagon on major media networks if pharmaceutical advertisers just said, we've had enough, and they left. There's no shortage of advertisers. So that isn't the problem. That isn't the question. The problem is that major media news is in bed physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually with the medical drug cartel. They are brothers and sisters and cousins. They're all part of the same family. They sit on each other's corporate boards. They share in profits and money, and they have similar designs, which is the globalist control of the planet. That's why 4,065,000,000 drug scripts are written every year in the United States. We've heard a lot now about the opioid epidemic, you bet, killing all kinds of people in America. These drugs like fentanyl and oxycodone and so forth, hideous drugs, way, way more powerful than morphine. But the press is trying to make you believe that this is really the medical drug problem in a nutshell. It's some kind of a rogue element out there doing drug pill mills, and some corrupt doctors are writing all kinds of prescriptions, so on and so forth. That's a diversion. That's what's called in the intelligence agency world a limited hangout. We admit to part of the problem, therefore you won't think about the rest of the problem. This problem that I'm talking about, which is chemical warfare against the population through medical drugs, is pervasive throughout the entire range of medical drugs. And again, I'll give you a study on this, totally mainstream, totally down the line, all that you could ask for. On the other hand, when we're talking about the world of nutrition, we're talking about nutritional products that build health, like at Infowars.store.com, Caveman, True, Paleo, Formula. 50% off retail right now. That's a product to build up health. First time 50 off of retail. Caveman, True Paleo Formula at InfoWarsStore.com. Bone broth, 7 different primal superfoods to help support healthy muscles, fight free radicals, and so much more. Cutting edge nutraceutical science, turmeric root, chaga, bee pollen, bone broth. 50 off retail before Infowars sells out at InfoWarsStore.com. Take advantage of it now. Let me tell you about this study. It's a whopper. I've talked about it before. I never get tired of talking about it because it is so fantastic. After the break, we will get into chapter and verse on the Starfield revelation. Stay with us. John Rappaport, Infowars. Yes, very bad thing. John Rappaport back here in the 4th hour. Why do I mention the Starfield study over and over and over and over? Because she was, until her death, not long after I interviewed her, a revered, not just respected, but revered public health expert at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. In other words, mainstream par excellence. Her review, July 26, 2000, was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Mainstream par excellence. It was called, Is U.S. Health Really the Best in the World? And you can cite this for your friends anytime they begin to say, just listen to what your doctor says, just do what your doctor says. Go along with the globalist medical destruction of life. July 26, 2000, Journal of the American Medical Association, Is U.S. Health Really the Best in the World? And Dr. Starfield concluded that every year in the U.S., correctly prescribed, FDA approved as safe and effective pharmaceuticals kill 106,000 people. That's not even getting into maiming, wounding, destroying. Kill 106,000 people. That means per decade, stay with me on this, let's extrapolate, over 1 million killings per decade at the hands of drug companies, FDA, so on, and doctors who are aware of what I'm talking about here. It's not like they're totally dumb, really. They know. Get it? That's called chemical warfare. That's part of the globalist structure. It's built into the globalist structure. All of the propaganda that you read about in the newspapers and the magazines and television and so forth, new breakthrough around the corner, new drug just been approved for cancer, genetic breakthroughs are coming, we're going to have a paradise and all of the blah, 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 blah. These reporters don't know what they're talking about. They're just taking copy off of teleprompter. They are propagandists. They are essentially part of what Mark Dice was talking about in the last hour. Operation Mockingbird, the intelligence agency infiltration of media. It's one big happy family. And the medical cartel with its chemical warfare, destruction of life, is an intrinsic part of that. Be sure you understand that. But let me just now go, boom, into another area. And this has to do with the wonderful state of California, which we all love and adore, get down on our knees and worship every day for their liberal, progressive policies. What have they been doing? Well, now they're trying to declare themselves a sanctuary state, whatever that means in legal terms. Doesn't mean anything. But they've had a gigantic policy of open borders for a very long time in California. And guess who's been coming in among other people? Mexican drug cartels. Boom, through the door. Come on, boys. Come right in. It's going to be fine here in California. We've got lots of forests, land, extraordinary amounts of land where you can, for example, let's see, grow pot, grow marijuana. It's going to be fantastic. Yes, you can do business here. I mean, you can ship. California will become known, as it has for a long time now, as the biggest pot growing area, certainly in the United States. For all I know, maybe in the world. Yes, wonderful. Open borders, globalism, that's part of the policy. Got to have open borders. Not a problem. It's never a problem. It's humanity at its best. Don't want to hear about problems. If you're talking problems of any kind, you're obviously a racist. We don't have to listen to you. But nevertheless, income Mexican drug cartels, they begin to grow pot, marijuana, in many forest areas all over the state of California. So now it has emerged, gee whiz, oh gosh, and we're talking about thousands of these smaller pot farms that they've been using an illegal pesticide, more than one actually, very poisonous pesticide on their pot, on their marijuana plants, and it's called carbofuran, Carbofuran. We'll be talking about it more when we get back. I just heard the outro music playing. Was that for real? Or was that just a prelude? For real. Okay, we'll be back after the break because this is a gigantic story.
What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying. Secure your DNA force today at InfoWarsLife.com.